The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Winston, Dillard Fire District, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37242. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks. Moving up onto the face of the bumper, dual air horns, passenger and driver side. On the passenger side, you'll find on the face of the bumper your electronic siren and PA speaker. In the center, you'll find your unit identifier placard. Moving up onto the bumper extension, you'll find a swivel discharge on the passenger side. Moving toward the center, you'll find a D handle will gain you access into the front bumper load. Moving over to the driver's side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving up onto the face of the cab, on the outer edge, you'll find a turn indicator marker light. Just inside of that location, you'll find the headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. High beam is located on the inside. Just above that structure, you'll find a forward-facing emergency warning light. And as we move to the Pierce logo, directly behind the logo is where you'll find the hood release mechanism. Moving up onto the windshield, there are 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. Moving out to the outer edge, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. As we move up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find your ID clearance lights. And then on the outer edge, you'll find a controlled spotlight from within inside the cab. You'll also find 3 forward-facing floodlights, 1 center-based and 2 outer edge slightly on an angle. Up onto the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located with inside the light bar in the center is where you'll find your Opticom. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, on the side of the bumper extension, you'll find your emergency warning light side facing. Swivel discharge located in the front. This is foam capable. As we move to the center section, you'll find dry deck material in the very bottom section of your hose storage location. Close-up of the Pierce logo directly behind is where the latch is located. As we look into the hood onto the passenger side, fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. As we move to the driver's side, you'll find the reservoir for your coolant. You'll also find on the rear wall instructions for cab lift operations and also some danger information placard. As we move to the right, you'll find the remote push button or activation switch. And then just down below that, you'll find a protected switch. This is the raise lower switch. And then as we move just to the right location, you'll find the power steering fluid. Let's go ahead and take a look at the side of the vehicle, full view. We'll focus in on the cab section next. Starting first with the front axle, you'll find a visual sight gauge indicator for the front axle, Goodyear tire, steel wheel. As we move to that bumper extension, side area, side-facing emergency warning light. Easily accessible with a gloved hand, these are your door lock and latch. They are keyed. You'll also find grab handles for gaining entry and exit out of the cab. Directly behind that first handle is where you'll find an emergency warning light, side-facing. As we move to the very top section, you'll find a side-facing scene light. Moving to the mid-section of the apparatus, we'll cover this area in detail in the next few moments. First, let's start with the body section in front of the rear axle, 2 folding wheel chocks. You'll also find in front of the axle a side-facing marker turn indicator light. Just up from that location, you'll find a pan door which houses our SCBA bottle storage location. Directly over the rear axle is where you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. And then just to the rear of the axle, additional pan door. This is where our fuel and DEF fill locations are located. There are 2 side-facing floodlights located on the very top section of the body. Let's move around to the rear section of the apparatus. We'll start first down in the lower portion where you'll find emergency warning light, brake, turn, and reverse light cluster. Just up from that, you'll find two cupped switches. These are your hosebed lights, and then also a switch for the rear scene lights. Just up from that, you have two rear scene lights, and at the very top, an emergency warning light. There are 3 steps located on the driver's side and 1 on the passenger side. These are fold down steps. As we move just up from this location, you'll find a 2.5-inch rear discharge, and in the very center, you'll find your traffic advisor. Let's take a look at some additional photos of the passenger side of the vehicle. First, starting full view. We'll go ahead and move now to the body section. Same configuration and layout. This does have the additional powered equipment rack in the upper portion. Let's go ahead and move now around to the driver's side. We'll move into the driver's space. But first, before we go in, let's talk about the door panel, because affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window controls, and also a grab handle. As we move inside the cab area, let's start at the base of the seat area of the driver's seat. This is where you'll find, next to the base of the driver's seat, the auto charge. When plugged into Shoreline Power, this will become active. Also, comfort controls for your seat are located at the base. And as we move to the quarter turn master battery switch, it's about the left knee of the operator. Let's take a look at a close-up of the auto charge system. Once again, this is an indicator. When plugged into Shoreline Power, it's active. Also, you'll find this yellow placard indicating the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, and cold tire inflation. This also houses the VIN number and, of course, all of your fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity, and fluid type. Just up from this location, you'll find the engine, transmission, ABS, and diagnostic port, and tech module. Just down from that, ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit switch. As we move to the dash, we'll start on the left-hand side with the 4-way flasher or hazard lights. Just down from that, start and ignition switch. Inside of that location is an emergency master switch. This engages and disengages all emergency lights with one switch. Headlight switch and panel switch, which allows you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. On the opposite side of the column, you'll find the OK to engage the high idle indicator and switch. As we move to the gauges, you'll find your transmission, oil, def, and water level temperature gauges. As to the right, you'll find your front air, rear air, volts, and fuel. Located directly in the center is where you'll find the tachometer and also speedometer. Diagnostic information will display via the tally lights located above and below the speedometer, in addition to the center digital readout. Just to the right is where you'll find the yellow diamond, currently not pictured in this. This is the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Let's move just to the right in this image where you'll find your Allison transmission pad, push button, digital readout, informational note to pump in drive. You'll also find a few switches located here. I've got some close-ups. We'll go over those in just a moment. To the right is your mirror control. And then also you'll find just beneath that area is the pump shift. Let's go ahead and take a look at those in close up. First, let's start with the Allison transmission pad. It is a push button digital readout and also an informational note to pump in drive. As we move to the right, you'll find the front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, load manager, and perimeter lights. At the bottom, engine brake on and off, a setting switch for that engine brake for low, medium, and high, and also mirror heat. As we move further to the right, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions for its operation from road to pump, and then also instructions from pump to road. Just as a reminder, for pump operations before leaving the cab, you'll need pump engaged and OK to pump, green indicators illuminating. Just above the pump shift is where you'll find your mirror control for the flat mirror and convex mirror for passenger and driver side. Just in front of that, climate control, heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Let's go ahead and look overhead of the operator position where you'll find this yellow placard on the far left-hand side near the A pillar. This is going to be your height 10 feet 2.0 inches, length 31 feet 9.75 inches, Gross vehicle weight rating 46,500 pounds. We also have the 5-digit job number located in this area also. Let's move just to the right where you'll find a few more switches. This is going to be your emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, future switch location or spare, and opticom. We have our siren brake for our EQ2B mechanical siren, air horn, and electric siren. Let's move just further to the right in the same plane where you're going to find your control module for your electronic siren and PA speaker. Just to the right of this location is your traffic advisor control module. Let's look to the center of the vehicle at the roof line. This is where you're going to find do not move your apparatus when light is on. It is the red light flashing indicating not to move the vehicle. You may have a compartment door open or ajar. Seatbelt information, red indicating not belted, green indicated in belted. Behind the driver's seat, you'll find the manual cab tilt lever. As we move to the rear of the cab, you'll find 2 forward-facing seats that are drop down and also 2 rear-facing seats which house SCBAs. Close up here of the front axle, Goodyear tire steel wheel, and that visual sight gauge indicator. Let's move now to the rear section of the cab area. First, let's start with the door panel. Affixed to that panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and grab handle. Overhead, you'll find your air conditioning unit and also push on and off red or white lens lights. General view of the cab area of the center console, adjustable shelving, LED lighting, not only shoreline power outlet, but also a 12-volt battery bus bar. Let's go ahead and move exterior now. We'll start first with the midsection of the apparatus, starting at the top with your crosslays. There are 2 crosslays located in this area. We have crosslay 1 and crosslay number 2. They are both foam capable crosslays. We do have a warning placard here indicating entanglement hazard because those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. Just to the right, you'll find a lift and turn latch gains you access into your backboard storage location. Let's start with the pump panel. On the very top section, you'll find the blue module. This is your Hercules CAFS system control module. As we move to the red module, this is your Husky 12 module for your foam system. You'll also find a foam system tank level indicator, pump intake, which is the master gauge, and then pump discharge, which is also a master gauge. As we move down, you'll find the minimum operation maintenance schedule, which we'll go over in just a few moments, your Husky 12 foam system specifications placard and instructions for its operation. You'll find all of our discharges, which are color-coded and also labeled, and you'll find out which ones underneath are CAFS optional. As we move to the right, you'll find your deluge discharge. It is a wheel valve, your front discharge, and rear discharge. As we move to the very top, you'll find your pressure throttle governor. Right next to that is where you'll find an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does rotate to allow you to brighten or dampen sound. To the right, we have some switches and also an indicator OK to pump. If you've properly engaged all items in the cab, this will be illuminating. We do have a pump hours indicator, and then just below that, you'll find your vacuum and pressure test gauge ports. They're currently plugged, and these are for testing purposes. To the right, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. Right next to that is the engine cooler. That's a twist. As we move further down, you'll find your electric valve. This is a tank to pump. Right next to that is your water level indicator. As we move further to the right, you'll find your fire pump primer. It is a push to prime air prime. There are instructions for its operation, at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Moving down, a warning placard indicating fall. When climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. Also, you'll find at the lower right your manual pump shift. Let's move further down on the pump panel. Just to the left is where you'll find your 2.5-inch discharges. There are 2 located on this side. Also, your shoreline inlet. Moving just to the right of this location, you'll find a warning placard that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after proper training. You'll find an air inlet. As we move further down, you'll find your CAFS air inlet also in the lower left, and then all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains across the very bottom section. We do have an auxiliary inlet. It is a 2.5-inch female locally controlled ball valve located here. Let's move just to the right where you'll find the Pierce American flag and eagle. This is the large diameter pump inlet. In the upper right is your pump drain. As we move further down, you'll find the Watrous placard. We'll come back to this. Moving further down, you'll find a warning placard indicating pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Further to the right, you'll find a warning regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. To the right is the auxiliary foam function inlet outlet. And as we move down further, we have some additional drains located here, one for your manifold and then also a flush. We do have a pan door. We'll talk about that in the next set of images. This is your access to that location. As we look inside, you'll find the foam lever. There are instructions for its operation on the back side of the door. Hose storage location in the running board area. As we move to the lower portion, you'll also find additional foam pump discharge drain and foam pump intake drain. As we move to the body of the rest of the compartments here, let's start in the very top section. First, LED lighting on both sides of the doors, dry deck material, and then also at the top you'll find your air compressor and battery charger. These operate when plugged into shoreline power. As we move to the next compartment directly over the rear axle, we're going to find SCBA bottle storage with retaining straps for 3 bottles. As we move down to the rear axle, you'll find Goodyear tires, steel wheel. Now let's go ahead and move up from this location and just to the rear of the axle where you'll find your ultra low sulfur diesel fill location, silver cap. You'll also find the 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. It is the blue cap. Let's move from this location to the rear compartment where you have adjustable shelving, LED lighting, a pass-through compartment, and also a pull-out shelf in the very bottom section. This tray, the release mechanism, is located on the far right-hand side. It will lock into position. Full view, all compartments are now open. Let's move around to the rear section of the apparatus. We'll identify a few items at the rear of the apparatus. As we move to those 2 cup switches, rear scene lights, and hose bed lights. Just up from this location, a warning placard indicating entanglement hazard because of those lines coming from a loft. As we move down, we have some additional warning placards. Warning regarding never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion. When climbing on and off the vehicle, always face the vehicle. And as we move to the very top warning, you'll find pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious. As we move just to the right of this location, you'll find in the center, you have 2 pull-out trays located here, one at the top section, one in the lower section. Release located on the right-hand side. They do lock into position. Let's move around now to the passenger side rear compartment. LED lighting, adjustable shelving, and then also at the very top, you've got an additional storage location here. 2 lift and turn latches gain you access into this space. At the bottom section, you'll find a pull-out tray, release mechanism located on the lower right-hand side. Directly over the axle, you'll find your tool board. D-handle gains you access to the rear portion of the tool board. As we move just to the rear of the axle, this is your equipment rack hydraulic reservoir. Let's move back to that center compartment first. Tool board open. You can see on the hinge side there is a lock mechanism. As we move to the rear, you'll find your Goodyear tires and steel wheel. Just up from this location, 3 bottle storage location with retaining straps. As we look to this location also just below, you'll find your diesel exhaust. Extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist, especially during regen operation. Be cautious where you park your vehicle. As we move forward to that location, adjustable shelving, LED lighting, and dry deck material on the compartments. We're now to the mid section of the apparatus. Let's start at the very top section. Same configuration and layout as we've seen on the passenger side as we have on the driver's side. Access to your backboard storage and then the 2 cross lays. This is your strainer cleanout location. As we move down from that location, additional warning placard regarding entanglement hazard because of the cross lays. And then also your powered equipment rack. This is the master switch for that. We have instructions for its operations to raise and also to lower. We do have some danger warnings on this placard also. As we move lower section of the panel, you'll find a relief valve. Moving just to the right, you'll find the American flag Eagle Pierce logo, passenger side large diameter inlet. We also have two 2.5-inch discharges located on this side. As we move down to the very bottom section, you'll find additional drains. This is for your primer drain. As we move to the right, you'll find a pressure warning hazard, and then also additional drain for your auxiliary inlet. There's a 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet on this side, female, locally controlled ball valve. Let's go ahead and take a look at the relief valve. This is the set screw for your relief valve setting. As we move down to the bottom, here are the two 2.5-inch discharges, and then all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains on the very bottom section. Cut out here for additional hose storage in the running board. As we move just underneath that, under the cab section, you'll find your front discharge drain. And then as we move up once again into the cab section, you'll find affixed to the door panel safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch combination, electric window control, and a grab handle. As we move inside the cab, at the very ceiling, you'll find push on and off red and white lens lights, air conditioning unit, drop down seats on the rear cab wall, and then two rear facing SCBA seats. Behind the officer seat, you'll find the storage location for your main unit radio. Let's go ahead and move back out to the exterior, front axle, visual sight gauge indicator, and also your Goodyear tire. As we move just inside the cab of the officer or passenger space, let's identify a few items. First, starting with the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. As we move inside to the floor area, you'll find your electronic siren foot pedal. As we move to the forward section of the glove boxed area, this is directly in front of the officer seat. You'll also find on the very top section a goose neck light that's controllable, switched at the light itself. As we move just to the left of this location, you'll find a hand spotlight, and you'll also find switches here for air horn, mechanical siren, and siren brake. Looking overhead, this is the control handle for your spotlight on the passenger side. You'll also find front flood, driver side scene, passenger side scene, and rear scene, and then any future switch locations that you may have. You will find these red and white candy cane labels throughout your vehicle. They are indicating a spare wiring behind the panel. It references the option number and then also the type of wiring. Please do not remove this. This is for your maintenance team. As we move to the left of the officer seat, you'll find your AM/FM weather band Bluetooth radio. As we move through the next set of images, compartments open. These are going to be your ladder rack. We have a 24-foot extension ladder, 14-foot roof, a 10-foot attic, and then also a pike pole. Let's go ahead and move up to the hose bed area where you'll find 3 hose bed dividers. They are movable. Also, as we move to the dunnage, you'll find the top fill for water, also top fill for foam, and then also you'll find your master stream device, and then also the location for your CAFS compressor. Just to point out a warning indication regarding your foam: do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. As we move back to the dunnage area, you'll find your master stream device located in the center. It does have an extend-a-gun to raise above the cab and body area. You'll also find your CAFS air compressor located in this area. As we move just forward of this location, a top view of the 2 cross lays. And then as we move forward of this location to the cab, you'll find these warning placards indicating that this is a non-walking surface and extremely slippery. The next set of images are going to be that of the chassis and engine area and also pump. As we look to the very front, you'll find this is the tow location for towing your vehicle attachments. As we move to the engine itself area, I would like to point out on the frame rail, when the cab has been fully tilted with pressure behind all cylinders equally on the passenger and driver side, please install the warning bracket here. Do not lower the cab onto the bracket located here in the image. Maintain equal pressure on the cylinders. As we move to the lower portion of the battery box, this is where you'll find your jumper studs. There is red for positive and black for negative. This will conclude the additional chassis photos. We do have a short video here with your emergency warning lights activated. Congratulations, Winston, Dillard Fire District, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37242. If you have any questions regarding your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.